Welcome, everyone, to episode 2 of the Chris Perish podcast. I am him, not Carmelo Hayes. I am Chris Perish, alongside with not just anybody, but the voice, Joshua Joseph, member of the In Your House community, part of the In Your House podcast station. Josh, thanks once again for rejoining.
Thank you for
second week.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Fans out there, you know me. You've seen me on my watch alongs. You've seen me on the Chris Perish podcast 2 times. I'm a returning champion.
Two time.
And,
hello to Chris Best, good old friend in the chat. Thanks for coming in and joining us today.
Chris Best.
Chris Best and I had a nice little time watching NXT Deadline last night, which was just a lot of fun. Great show that was. And I know you were doing your watch along to Collision,
yes,
which you spoke highly of.
Oh yeah, it was a great Collision.
Andrade, Bryan Danielson put on a clinic. I did watch that match. It was a good match.
It was very entertaining match. The
you
Voices
guys,
match of the night.
Oh
yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I think so a good night of wrestling. So Friday night just ends up being a good night for pro wrestling. I'm gonna just adjust my cam so I'm more in the middle. I don't know. Maybe my wife's HD is kicking on me as well. But there it is. But yeah, so what I guess we can just start there right now. Like we have a booming wrestling business right now. Like no matter what side you're on, like it, whether you like the MLW, which they had a wicked show on Thursday, as well as we really saw, like Matt Cardona kind of come up short in his quest to become MLW champion against Alex Kane. Whether it's Friday, whether you were watching Rampage, whether you were watching SmackDown, we saw tribute to the troops. We saw CM Punk, and we saw CM Punk's first dig at AEW without actually saying AEW. And then yesterday we had both Collision, which a banger, as you say, with Bryan Danielson and Andrade, and then we had NXT Deadline, which I thought the Iron Survivor matches were just fantastic. Alongside, I thought Baron Corbin and Ilya Dragunov just beat the living crap out of each other too.
That was a great match.
Yeah. And then shout out to Roxanne Perez. Yeah, Chris Best, you proud of me? I finally remembered her name properly because I always. So here's the story with Roxanne Perez to me.
Okay.
I think this girl has like a boatload of talent and just a future ahead of her. She's 22 years old, just everything right there. But there's something about her I'm just not totally devoted and like emotionally invested in from a character standpoint. And sometimes I overlook that she's there sometimes because she blends in, I think, a lot. You almost forgetting she's there. And then she's so tied with Cora Jade, who is very similar in the same way that I always just mix them up sometimes. But both who I think, have a future in WWE in professional wrestling. But yeah, I guess like my question kind of stands out. Like we're about to end the year 2023. A lot of ups, lots of downs. In professional wrestling this year, a lot of unexpected turns, a lot of unexpected events. Well, what do you think the wrestling community, or sorry, at least just the wrestling scene, has in store for the new year? We like to do New Year resolutions for ourselves, for individual, whether it's like, I got to start working out. I got a little too fat on the holidays. I ate too many cookies. I drank too many beers. I'm not getting personal. I'm just saying that's what people do. It's water today, people.
Yes.
Water in my nice Rogue Energy cup, which, by the way, you can go to rogueenergy.com and use the code word Perish and save yourself 10% on all your orders.
It's also water in my Vegas Knights cup.
I have a buddy that works for the Vegas Golden Knights.
Let me know next time when I go to Vegas, and I might ask a favor. Because I've been wanting to go to one every time I go.
I was this close from getting one of those gold metallic helmets, but he got traded right before the locker room clean out thing. Yeah. It was a guy that I used to play hockey with. We used to be partners.
Sweet.
in on the defense side of the game. But yeah, but anyway, going back to the point.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you think the pro wrestling scene's New Year's resolutions will be? Like, where do you think the wrestling state will end up winding in 2024?
I'm going to go with the top two promotions. And I'm going to say with AEW, I think in this new year that we are possibly going to get some talents that are already there are going to take more of a backseat to the creative role. I also believe that one of the big storylines is going to have to get a shot of adrenaline through AEW, and that is the Devil storyline. And I'm going to go and give my opinion of the year for that storyline. I honestly believe, I don't think it needs to be, but I think it is. I think it's Swerve Strickland. The reason I say that is because Swerve does not need this rub. He does not need this storyline at all. He is doing everything he can on his own to make his name and his presence known. You can see that at sporting events that he attends, and when he doesn't attend, people are still chanting him. So therefore, AEW, in my opinion, I think they have seen that. So I think they are going to transition him into being whoever is behind that mask. And then him and MJF are going to have a banger of a match. He's going to become the first AEW Black Heavyweight Champion, and he's going to run with that. He's going to make it something, and it's going to be spectacular. And so many more people, like you're going to have Swerve versus Claudio. And on Collision, the very opening match was Claudio and Eddie Kingston. Fans, if you know me, you know I'm not a big Eddie Kingston fan. That match, Claudio made me enjoy an Eddie Kingston match and appreciate Eddie Kingston. So I think that that's where your best push is to go with that storyline. So AEW, to wrap that up, I believe that they're going to have more captivating storylines. WWE, they're a unique individual because they have Triple H now, and we are now starting to see the amazing effects of what a leader like Triple H can do. We talked about it the other night. They're getting a week off for Christmas, and like you said, those shows were not that good anyways. I mean, it was, people being wore down, having to go through and missing their family. Now they're getting this shot of adrenaline where they're going to get more family time. And so that's going to make them happy. And then that's going to make the product even better because you're going to get guys and girls going in there and just loving being there, So WWE to me is going to, I think we're going to have so many top guys that it's going to be a pretty epic 2024 for WWE. I mean, it's going to be like that amazing Hell in a Cell, the 6-man, the 6-pack challenge, things like that. That was exciting for me as a fan back then. I loved it. Rikishi falling from the top into a flatbed.
That was crazy. I mean, and I can speak on being the guy that took some stupid bumps in his time. That was crazy.
Yeah.
There was.
Yeah. I mean, they had it all well protected.
And we got a new listener in there saying from Farshan Chopson, hey guys, do you read the chats? Yeah. Yes, we do. We even post them because we do that. In fact, let us know a little bit more about yourself and how did you stumbled across the channel and do that. We go one better, or I go one better. I want to get to know the people that are in my chat. How's that? Chris Best coming in saying that song used to open the pay-per-view is just awesome. I have a theory when it comes to music in WWE. And this might be because I am more of a rock alternative kind of metal guy. I feel that when they use that genre, they always have banger of shows. In fact, that's my WrestleMania kind of theory, that when they have a rock song, it's always a banger of a WrestleMania. When they step away from that, when they do, big time or flow ride it, yeah, the WrestleMania takes a backseat. Might be a good moment here and there, but it's not one to remember.
No, I
know
agree with you.
Farshine Chop says, I was wondering, are you both a father and son? No, we are both fathers.
Yes.
We
And
are
we
just
are both sons of fathers.
In fact, yeah, I just had a son 9 weeks ago. So, yeah, we are just friends. We're platonic pals of the pen pal community. We exchange emails, we exchange telegrams, and all that new age technology stuff. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, we are both fathers. In fact, I decided once to have put a bowl of water. Yes, a bowl of water. Stay with me here. And I saw my son, and I just went, "I am your father," while just like motorboating the water. And I'm not even a Star Wars guy, but I thought that was just funny.
You got
In
to.
fact, I have a guy at work called Luke, and I was there shortly after I had my son, and he's like, "Welcome back, Max." I did take a few days off, and I was like, "Luke, I am a father."
That's awesome.
But we have little radios, and I had to do it in there because it was funny. So I private messaged him. So he's like driving down an aisle in his forklift, and I just like stop him only to do something really stupid. So this is how I started my day that day.
Those make the days better, though.
Oh yeah,
like that.
We have a guy who's his real name's not this, but like he's one of the guys that has like a Canada name, I guess. So his Canada name is Dino. So they'll page for Dino, and anytime I hear Dino, I think of Flintstones. So I'm just like, so they're always like, go for Dino, page for Dino, and then like you always respond and be like, Dino copy, but I'm like, go for. This is the first time that I got first day I got like told, yeah, this is not a toy, and I'm like, yeah, but it's funny.
I've been told that at Walmart, just grabbing the intercom. This is not a toy, sir.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Here? You don't work here. What are you doing?
I just like hear myself talk over intercoms.
I've had the dad joke potential for a long time. That Chris Bass, you know that.
Look at Best. Yeah, right there.
Dino Bravo. That's fair. Is the Flintstones older than Dino Bravo?
That's a good question.
Because if that's the case, I just old schooled you. I old schooled you then.
You old schooled the old school.
Yeah. Dino Bravo, you're old school. Which is funny because Dino Bravo also used to be a wrestler.
Well, what were your predictions for
yes, back on the topic. Yeah, interesting. This just spiraled like I'm not known for that. No, I think we're gonna see kind of like the WWE train just keep going. I think they finally figured out kind of their how to do things. They got their rhythm, and I think we're gonna see them absolutely crush 2024. And I think that's sink or swim now for AEW, because we know that they do view WWE as a competitor. They do view them as, we got to be there. They have that big stick mentality. They want to be better than WWE. Yeah. Whether or not you feel that, sure or not, it's been shown time and time again. I think, like you said, like the storylines in AEW need to evolve. The storytelling, the long-term storytelling has to be better. I think a lot comes down to whether or not they keep specific people in 2024. I mean, we can say MJF has or has not re-signed, may or may not. You still a free agent, who knows? But if he's not re-signed and he does entertain the free agency of professional wrestling, that is a huge loss and a crippling loss for AEW if he does move on. He is priority number one. He needs to be the face of that company for the next 10 years at least. You mentioned Swerve. He is the hot ticket in town right now. You have to strike while the iron's hot. This is important for AEW to have their finger on the pulse right now, because right now it doesn't feel that way. In fact, it feels like they're doing their best Def Leppard and they're 2 steps behind. And I don't know if that's plausible for another year. I really don't, because there's already growing frustration on, okay, like I'm an AEW, like not me personally, but like generally there's a lot of people that like, I love this company, I love this product, but what the hell are you doing right now?
Yeah.
And that's exactly how I felt the last few years with WWE, and be like, why are you insulting my intelligence for this long? Like, just because I was a fan in the 90s and I watched the hashtag Portuguese man or Aldo Montoya, or I watched Mantar or Man Mountain Rock or Techno Team 2000.
Good Lord.
Bertha Faye was running wild with Harvey Whippleman. Yeah. The Body Donnas and Timothy Well and Stephen Dunn, you know.
These are some deep tracks, man.
Right. That's when I truly remembered watching wrestling every week. Was during that time. Yeah, I know it was gimmicky, it was cheap, it was cartoonish. I was a kid fun. Though. Wrestling was my comic books, people. I love a good Batman like anybody else, but instead of looking up Drax the Destroyer on comic books, I was like, yeah, the Goon is my deal because I'm Canadian and I like hockey too.
They're speaking directly to me.
Yeah, it's like, cool. I can play hockey and wrestle. This is awesome.
If he starts getting maple syrup, I'm losing my mind.
He needs another jersey though. Well, I'm pretty sure, I still remember the Bushwhackers eating deodorant at Survivor Series.
Mm-hmm.
Like small little. I don't know. Because I think was it them or the Head Shrinkers? One of the two. Head Shrinkers were also eating random stuff.
Yeah, speaking of that, you remember George the Animal Steel? Mm-hmm. When I was a child,
I have a story about him, but I'll let you go.
When I was a child, I thought when he tore out the stuffing of the turnbuckles, I thought that was mashed potatoes.
Okay, this is what kind of mashed potatoes?
Just regular mashed potatoes, but butter.
I'm a big garlic mashed potato fan.
Those are good, delicious,
yeah,
nice steak. Okay. Oh,
yeah, yeah. We are friends. Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Yes, our friendship is built around garlic mashed potatoes, people.
That's a good friendship.
What say you?
What say you?
Yeah. But yeah, no. So before we kind of go back to the topic, the story. So I'm friends with a guy at British Columbia. He used to ref in the WWF.
Okay.
And I'm doing a local show there, an independent show over there, and go stay over at his place. He's like, hey, you want to check out the house and stuff? Like, yeah. So we go to his basement. Basement's just filled. It's just a shrine of old stuff. And I see an old WWF, that kind of navy blue with the yellow WWF logo, like that turnbuckle pad. And I'm just like, oh, so everyone's looking at this. I'm mesmerized by this. And I'm like, okay, I got to. So they're looking at random frame photos on the other side. and the story is being told about that. They look over at me, and I'm just banging my head against this turnbuckle because I needed to know if it was soft or not. And I'm like 24, 25 people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like a kid. I am, but I should be a little bit more mature at that age.
Didn't need to
37 now. I'm still somebody who you can say I should be a
who
little
would
bit
do
more
the
mature.
exact same thing if you had that opportunity today. You would be.
So anyway, and then they look over and they're like, "Oh, funny story about that. It's like when George the Animal Steel was in there, they used to write a G and S on the back of the turnbuckle to let him know which turnbuckle they was pre-ripped for him."
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I thought it was a cool little like story. I'm like, oh, I thought that he just had massive strength and just
Yeah, I did too.
I'm like, but it's also kind of cool because you're learning
Yeah.
a trick of the trade, and I'm like, that's cool because, in a way, like, okay, so like, did you always think wrestling was like I don't know, I always thought it was like comic books meets like American Gladiators meets Magic as a kid.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Which is funny because I'm like saying American Gladiators. I'm a full-fledged Canadian, but yes, I watched American Gladiators.
It was a great show.
Yeah. I remember when Rico Constantino was a contestant. That was awesome.
I've never remembered the contestants' names. I had an uncle, though, who got to the finals, but when he did his P test, he tested positive for steroids. And
so did he
wasn't able
become
to
a
go.
gladiator then?
No. He had a negative reaction to being told no
Oh.
because of this. And he was like, those guys are doing it too.
Yeah.
They're like, no, they're not.
Oh, man. Speaking of which, the documentaries they had on Netflix, absolutely fantastic.
Great documentaries, and it actually makes you think a little bit about what you were watching, you know, and seeing the lives that those guys actually lived and the amount of money they did not make to put their body through that damage.
It truly reminded me a lot of like the 80s pro wrestling stories.
Oh yeah.
Like it was so like amazing, like it was so amazingly similar that I was like, man, like I'm kind of surprised they didn't become like wrestlers in the 80s.
Yeah, like there was like cross I'm surprised they didn't do any cross promotion.
Well, I think they were on just opposing networks at the time too, right? I think that was half of it. Weren't they?
I don't know, because I remember watching it here in my area. We watched it on USA.
Okay, well, maybe it was because I know, like, obviously we're not like we watch it on TSN.
Yeah,
but I mean, pretty much back then, like almost everything sport wise was either TSN. You get the odd stuff on like Global or but I don't know. It was different. So I always viewed them as like they were competitors. So maybe that's
they probably were, though. I mean, there was probably a different place that actually owned the rights to it, and USA just bought the being able to show reruns or something, you know.
Plus, part of me always thought that was a Ted Turner thing.
Probably that sounds more right.
Like Vince McMahon would like his like gimmicks and characters, but that just seemed more Ted Turner-esque to me.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, Vince also had the football players coming in, Lawrence Taylor, all those guys. So, I mean, honestly.
And then he started his own league.
Yeah. It failed miserably, but he started it.
But the ball was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, like it was actually funny because the XFL actually inspired the NFL to do one thing, and that is that overhead camera.
Yeah.
That they still do today.
Mm-hmm.
So the XFL wasn't a total failure.
And I will say this too: the XFL showed the NFL how to give more in-depth storylines to the popular players.
Yep.
And things like that. Because I mean, the XFL, that's what I did like about it. There was small storylines that they were trying to bleed into it from teams battling each other, and that was fun. But I mean, it was not sustainable. There was no way that was gonna last. Like,
Wait,
you're going up against the NFL. It goes.
how ironic is it that like Vince McMahon was the owner of the WWF, of just a juggernaut promotion that if you were to compete against it, you're not gonna win. And then he does the exact same thing and competes against another that you're not gonna win. But
dude, I love that you're saying this, because this gives, okay, we all know I'm a weirdo and I have a conspiracy theory about Vince McMahon right now. I want you to follow me. Okay, so Vince's ego is larger than life, right?
Yeah.
He wants to be the top no matter what. He's even trying to be the top in retirement. So this is what I'm thinking. Vince is sitting around and he's stewing because Triple H, like I said before, is doing amazing things, and he's getting, like, wrestlers are ready to just drop to their knees and start worshiping him because he's giving them what they've been asking for so long, and the product's getting better. So Vince is seeing this and he's like, motherfucker, this is really getting under my skin. How dare my son-in-law come in and do this and do it better than I was doing it? I'm the king. People, when they say wrestling, they say Vince McMahon, God damn it. So he calls Tony Khan. And he's like, hey, Tony, let me come right your ship. Because did we just not see a week ago, Jericho had an interview and he said everybody in AEW could use the world of 6 months under Vince McMahon. And this product would be amazing. So Vince, he's sitting there, he thinks about it, he does it. AEW rises. It's never going to beat WWE. I mean, that's almost impossible to do. But it rises to a caliber to where now it's, Monday Night Wars again, but on different dates. That's just my conspiracy theory. So I just wanted to put that out there with Vince.
As I take that in,
yeah,
Chris Best is coming in saying American Gladiators aired on Fox here in Ontario, which also had WWF Wrestling Challenge, which I forgot it had that. So
yeah,
I may have been incorrect with the opposing networks, but at the same time, I always remember just watching WWF always on TSN until it went to the Score, and then it went to Sportsnet. So that's the Canadian stuff. But yeah, no, I did listen to that Jericho thing where he said everybody needs Vince McMahon for 6 months. I do think he meant the prime Vince and not modern day. Because modern
day Vince would help AEW storylines. Think of they're more.
Would he?
They're more 90s, early 90s WCW Thunder. That's how I picture AEW. That's prime Vince era. That's when he's making storylines. You got guys like Danhausen that they're like, oh, we know what to do with him. We'll put him in this thing, and he stole a hat. And now they're trying to get, what's it, Jake, or is that Jake Hager?
Yeah.
How you say his name? Anyways, they're trying to get him involved in that with this hat. Okay, that I can.
Well, it's his hat.
Yeah, it is his hat, but here's my issue with AEW's Danhausen, and I love Danhausen. Okay, but here's the thing: you're making him too much of a comic character. Yes, he needs those moments where he curses somebody, but then let him do some big ass move. Let him do something instead of like kicking him in balls or something like that. It's too cartoonish. You can play with cartoon like Doink the Clown. Okay.
Yeah.
There was cartoonish there, but there was also skill there. And you could see that he knew what the hell he was doing in a ring.
The problem
and he
with that,
also knew the psychology of it.
Yeah. I think the problem with that is I think a lot of times nobody looks at Danhausen as like a legitimate thing. They look at him as nothing but a modern day Pennywise in professional wrestling.
Okay.
But
that's how they viewed Doink back in the day too. It was
fans,
but I mean,
I think the
Doink's
only
talked
problem
about.
is like if you go out after a show, the guy that played Doink would beat the living piss out of you. Or I don't think Danhausen would even be at the club.
No, he wouldn't.
There's yeah, I don't know. Like heel Doink was obviously like one of my favorites. So like I don't know. Like maybe you're on some with like maybe like Danhausen just has to be like a heel, and then like to be taken a little bit more serious
Yeah.
in that way. I don't know. I view him as an Orange Cassidy as very like for me very polarizing figures because they are entertaining in what they do. The only thing is when it comes to pro wrestling, and I'm seeing guys like Bryan Danielson, I'm seeing Eddie Kingston, who are just beating the crap out of you. And then I'm seeing like Kenny Omega, who's putting on a show. And then I see FTR, and then I see Chris Jericho. I'm seeing all these like larger than life characters that do the in-ring stuff and make it look awesome. And then I go to Orange Cassidy and Danhausen, and I just there's something that's it. I already know that I'm stretching my reality when I watch wrestling, but it seems like I do it even more with them.
Okay. Here,
And that's why maybe I'm not like as clued into these guys as everybody else.
Let's dance in this for a moment because I want to bring up a thing. Let's go back to Rikishi and his group that he had. Okay, did Scotty Too Hotty and those guys? I'm drawing a blank on the other
Grandmaster Sexay, Brian Christopher.
Okay, did you consider them a legitimate tag team, like in the tag team circuit at that time, with all the tag teams you had?
They were so the way I viewed them was if you're a new tag team on the scene, you probably beat them first on your way to the titles. I never ever pegged them as serious threats every week to the tag titles. No. I looked at them as more of a comedy act, but it was like, okay, if you need a tag match and you need this team to go over, you put them against Too Cool. It's almost similar to how I view the Guns are kind of pegged in AEW in that sense. But no, like I understand, like, okay, like you can do your oh my god, these guys talked their way into a title match and they pulled one out because of, maybe Rikishi like helps them or whatever. Sure. But then they lose the titles the next week. Yeah. If at best, transitional champs. That's how I always viewed them.
Right there, you have Danhausen and Orange Cassidy if you knew how to write for them. That's how you get those guys over.
Yeah, but they have to.
And this is my opinion. This is
just they have to find a way to complement each other, though. They can't be Orange Cassidy and Danhausen. They have to do something that intertwines their stuff together.
Well,
if I'm buying them as a tag team,
I think they missed the opportunity with Danhausen and Hook and being able to do that because you have Hook, who is he's just there to fight, just like his dad was. And then you have Danhausen who can give that comic relief. And I'm sorry, but the Doritos spots that they had, the beverage spots they had, I was entertained as a fan. It drew me in. I was looking for Hook and Danhausen. I enjoyed it.
Now, here's something I do want to ask that. Because we talked about the 80s, we talked about the early 90s and how gimmick they are. And it kind of suited to the world. Like it really suited to the real life at that time. Kind of, that's when you were seeing a lot of like the cartoons were kind of like that. When you go on TV, you're watching shows that were very much like that as well. Nowadays, you go back to the gimmicky and stuff like that. It has absolutely no comparison to what the real world is. It almost seems like there's a disconnect between the gimmicky and the real world.
You're correct.
Do you think that's why maybe they're not like for the majority of the time it's not usually a hit? Or do you think nowadays people are just like, it's wrestling, I kind of just it is what it is, like because it's wrestling, That's awesome.
Yeah, that's where I think that's where fans like me and you and the majority of the watchers go out and find. It's the entertainment value because it's wrestling. We love the theatrics of it. I love watching a guy get on a top rope, jump to the outside, land on 3 guys, and the crowd goes nuts. That's awesome to me. That's really cool. But it's interesting when you were saying what you were like, the disconnect, it's the gimmicky thing. Think about the world of streaming. The top streamers out there pretend to be robots. The ones that make a lot of money. Like, I mean, they pretend to do these things. You got different people coming on and being anime characters. You got doing this, and those people are like getting money. And go ahead.
Oh, I was like, yeah, it's a niche for sure. Yeah. It's more like nowadays I find the real world in a way is a collection of how the world used to be, all wrapped up in one. Like, anime niche, comic book niche, wrestling niche, sports niche, whether it's football, soccer, baseball, hockey, golf, water polo, pickleball, whatever that is. Which I know what pickleball is. I was just really depressed when there was no pickles in pickleball. Like,
Well, I mean, yeah, I could understand that.
I wanted a plastic pickle when I heard pickleball, and I didn't have any plastic pickles. It was depressing.
I thought it was like a banquet of different style pickles.
I thought I was like throwing pickles at people, and it was a sport. And I was kind of
fun. I'm throwing my pickle at you, buddy.
It's the tastiest crunch I've ever heard. But yeah, no, like, to your point, like I do see where you're going, in the sense of like, okay, we have those niches, but I don't think a niche
works in this world.
No, I don't think a niche represents the entire world. I think it's just a portion of it.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the definition of it. I mean,
yeah.
But at the end of I don't think that, like you were saying, the character gimmicky driven wrestling promotion's not going to get as many views, because that's a disconnect. We're there to watch the fighting, but then again, I look at like Shane O'Malley in the UFC and things like that. That dude is he's larger than life. He's a giant walking gimmick. He's got a pink afro. He's fun though, and he's drawn to it. So I think that if you had, and this is going back to my conspiracy theory, I think if you have a mind like a Vince McMahon who understood that at the time that you could get away with it, I think you could add an element that WWE does not have. They don't have that gimmicky wrestler. They have your fun wrestlers. They have your fun groups and things like that. Because, I mean, sit back and think about it. I just watched a Collision that didn't have the Acclaimed on it. And I'm asking why. Why was the Acclaimed not featured in anything on Collision? That is your bread and butter right now. The Acclaimed are doing things that nobody is doing. And they're bringing along with them one of the guys who fucking set that world on fire back in the day, Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn gets it. He understands the fans that AEW has, what they like, just watch Billy Gunn at an indie show with his sons back in the day. He got those boys over back on the indies.
The funny thing is, if you really watch Billy Gunn now, and then you watch Billy Gunn from the mid 90s, early 2000s, he's not different. A lot of his stuff is exactly the same. The only thing he does is he changes how he does it, like how he approaches things.
Yep.
It's the persona that he evolves. It's not the inside the ring. And I think that itself is like, that itself right there, I think, is a perfect example of how to evolve in professional wrestling. Yes, it's great to bring in a new move every now and then to keep things fresh. I get that. But sometimes when you have the perfect moveset, which I do think Billy Gunn did, I think one of the biggest things was he just couldn't really get to the fans the way that he is now. Like, Badass Billy Gunn just never clicked. Rockabilly clearly never clicked. The one Billy Gunn didn't really click. But then somehow when he was in the New Age Outlaws, he clicked. When he was in DX, it clicked. But every time he was on by himself, he never clicked. Now he goes to AEW. He's in a group again. It clicks. Like you said, he goes on the indies. He's with his sons in a group. He clicks. I think that's kind of something that it's a day, like it's the similarity with him, but at the same time, we can appreciate him as a singles guy when he's in a group. I think when he's on his own, that's when he fades.
Oh, he's magical in a group. I mean, just look at his career, and just everything you pointed out is perfection, man. That was like laid out perfectly because it's correct.
We have Chris Best coming in saying, watch when he yelled at ZZ for not getting it on Tough Enough. It's because Billy Gunn understands the business. And that's just it. Like, there's a difference from... And it's funny because when he says that, because I just watched the Maven thing about asking whether or not he thinks Bob Holly was a bully. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting because now we're getting somebody from then. And he was there in the building when the Matt Capitelli stuff happened on Tough Enough. And it was like interesting because he's like, I don't think he's a bully. I think he's gone too far at times. But it's like, if you really listen to his message, it does help you.
Oh yeah.
And like, it's like, it's one of those things where, yeah, I know. I'm looking at different. So I always thought, I'm like, okay, Hardcore Holly, yeah, kind of a dick. It's always seemed like he'd be a dick. But then it's okay. Nah, but then when you kind of like look at it, it's like, yeah, he's just somebody that, like, when you say like tough love, old school, like, he's that to a T. And it's like, he's pretty consistent with his approach all the time. So he can't really be upset with his message. You can only hate why he's giving the message, I guess. But
how he's presenting it.
Because a lot of people on the Billy Gunn thing would be like, I can't believe like he's yelling like that, like it's so abusive and stuff like that. Like I was hearing that and I was like, no, like that's normal. No, like it's frustrating when you're teaching somebody in physical combat, like pro wrestling is. Like it's a physical combative thing. And when somebody for 20 minutes, 30 minutes is telling you, I understand, and then can't do it, and you know, like, and you yourself see the potential, it's frustrating to watch at times.
Oh, I can understand that. That's I mean, a lot of the ones coming up, yes, you're gonna say, oh, that's mean in the way they're presenting the information that they're trying to give out, but you go back to how that man was trained. You're gonna shit your pants.
So this is actually something that I've always wondered, and I've always been curious because I was brought up in a world where, okay, there's a lot of things that would be socially unacceptable with that, whether like it's the discipline stuff that you had when you were a kid, whether it was spanking, whether it was like belt, like stuff like that. That is so heavily considered to be abusive nowadays. But what's funny is where we live in a society that questions the way things were done. But if it wasn't done that way, then them themselves wouldn't be where they are.
Exactly.
Like good or bad, like you wouldn't be who you are without your path. Like that is factual information.
But that also brings me back to what you said about Billy Gunn and his evolution of him. I think Billy Gunn gets it. Billy Gunn understands that he has to adapt the way he says the things to the younger guys, and then they're going to listen to him. Because, I mean, you can see his influence on the Acclaimed and running a 3-guy promo. Who else does it better than them on AEW?
In what sense? Okay, sorry, say that again.
In a 3-person promo, because they have a lot of them in AEW. I
They
mean, they'll have 6 people in a fucking promo. Who does it better? I mean, you have the Combat Club, you have House of Black, which I'm representing tonight.
Yeah.
You have all these different groups doing it, but the Acclaim does it the best on AEW.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I mean, if you have a
Yeah.
different one.
I don't, but the way that I view the trio thing in AEW is the way Vince McMahon treated the tag team division is that
Okay.
I don't think there was a point in time where I didn't think the tag team titles in WWE meant anything based on the way they were presented.
Yeah, there was a big point in time when that was relevant.
It's exactly how I feel about the trios title. And I feel that because you do have good acts, you're going to have good acts. You have some really good tag teams, trios in all companies. But there's a lot of thrown together trios that make no sense. There's like, oh, you like peanut butter? Yeah, okay, we're a trio. Cool. Like, what? Like, oh, you breathe air too? Cool. We're a trio. Who knew? But because of that, there's no really good feuds. There's no really good storylines. And I think that's what's needed to make championships meaningful and something that, you know what, now I want to be in a trio because I need to be a trios champion. Like, there's nothing wrong with like wanting to be a trios champion. If you want to have a trios championship, that's great, but make them worth something, make them meaningful. And when you have 2 other tag team titles or sets of tag titles on your show, they kind of are watered down in the sense that, guess what? If I'm seeing 2 tag team title matches already, I'm kind of burnt out with tag matches for the time being.
Yeah.
So then you give me a trios match, and it's like just it's like it's steroids to tag team is what a trio is.
Very much so. And I mean, the idea is cool, but again, just because you have the idea, if you don't have the why, what are you doing?
And one of the things is what I hate about that. Usually, when you have a trio, you usually have a really good tag team in that, and you're just not using them enough in the tag team division. And then I look at who you're saying, and then I think the Acclaim, they should have been more of a staple in the tag team division.
Oh yeah.
When they won the tag team titles, that was awesome. And then for whatever reason, they were taken. The titles were taken off, and the timing wasn't right. They were still hot, and then they faded away from the tag team picture, and it made no sense to me because they were the it thing.
No, that's a great statement.
And it was just like, it was their time, and that's when I say finger to the pulse needs to be a gigantic deal. So I don't know, that's to me like something that just because you have Matt and Nick Jackson there does not need, that can't be your default on a title. That shouldn't be your default. They should now be in that position where they understand it's the Acclaim's time. We take a backseat to the Acclaim for this bit. You know, if we can find a natural way to get to them later, cool. But right now, it's them. And I find there's too much transitional movement with titles in AEW that really, and just please stop having 11 championship matches on one night when it comes to their shows. I've been on some shows like that before. The crowd just gets,
yeah. Well, again, when we discussed it on another stream, I think your thought on Adam Copeland joining AEW is going to be beneficial just because of his mind for the storytelling. And I think we're going to see that because I'm really, really liking small storylines that they do have going. And you can tell there's influence. There's somebody back there who's like, hey, let's push it this way.
And when Christian left WWE and reprised Christian Cage in AEW, The one thing I said, I'm like, obviously the reason he went there is because WWE probably didn't want him to wrestle all the time, and he wanted to wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fair enough. Don't hate the guy for the decision. His career, he gets to end it the way he wants. I can get down with that. I respect him a lot for it. What I thought the big loss was Christian with WWE was his mind more than anything, because that guy was an absolute genius, and it's no surprise to me that he went to AEW with the t-shirt that says outwork everyone. And I'd say for the last 6 months, he has flat out done that.
Yeah. I mean, look at the story he's built.
Yeah.
And he built that story. You can see he plainly built that story.
Yeah.
That's all Christian-esque, from the dismantling and the remolding of the group. And now he's abducted a family. Like,
yeah,
this Christian, he was one of my favorite minds in wrestling. I thoroughly enjoyed everything him and Edge did, him and Adam Copeland did. You know, these things that they built, and the minds that were a part of that collective with the Dudleys and all that. It's like, how could you let them leave? You know, I understand you don't have enough push to put Christian out there, but why couldn't you put him in NXT and let him fuck around? You know,
see, I would have loved him to be like Sean's right hand man in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was thinking the exact same thing for Edge, Adam Copeland.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like, you know what? He also can do that on the main roster. Like, he can be Triple H's right hand man, and he could be the Pat Patterson to Triple H.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, could you imagine? Could you imagine a company where your main roster has the creative guidance and leadership and directional mind of Triple H, and then you have Adam Copeland right beside him, and then your developmental tour has Shawn Michaels at the head, helped by Christian. Like,
dude, that's a powerhouse.
Holy, like, that is nuts. And it's not saying what they have is bad. It's just that is that is a fantasy lineup of but at the same point, it's the reason it's not so much why WWE let him go. It's because they envisioned them somewhere else. They were trying to help the next 20 years of their company. Where now you're because they just have a lot more talent on their roster that they have to get out. It's just a thing. It's like when one of your biggest gripes is like, okay, when you're saying when Punk came back, it's like, I hope he doesn't take away from, you know, the LA Knights or, you know, other said talent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think where Christian Cage would have been is he would have been more of a mid-card standout at that time, because he may have had one run with Roman Reigns, but you know he's not winning the title.
Yeah.
But so he's going to be in the mid card. Well, that's probably going to be where they, you know, have guys like Grayson Waller or Austin Theory or, you know, other guys that they want to like bring up, like Gunther. Like, that's kind of like
valid point.
So I mean, at the same time too, yeah.
But I could see
I'm sure
a really cool Christian Cage and Waller match. A feud between those two would be.
I really wanted to see Edge and Christian against the Usos just once. That was the tag match I really wanted to see just one time.
That could be
pretty
cool.
I listened to the Edge and Christian's podcast at Reeks of Awesomeness, and they said they even wanted that match. So I was like, come on, give me that match. And then you could bring in Kurt Angle just for one trios match, and then you could put Solo there. And then it's like, okay, then bring back Rhino to go against Roman or something. You can have Team Wreck going against the Bloodline.
Oh, that would have been epic.
And then
that would have been epic.
And then just for one segment, you can have the Usos come out, dress as Edge and Christian, play kazoos and rap, and then you have Solo acting like a Kurt Angle who's just taking it serious like he did back then, and it's funny.
Yeah. And then you're playing to all the every aspect of your crowd base right there,
Yeah,
man.
right
Everybody's loving it. Everybody's enjoying every moment that all 4 men, all 6 men are putting out there.
Yeah.
You know, that's
It's nostalgia meets with current, meets with
yeah.
fantasy, meets with like the entertainment aspect. But when push comes to shove, they're putting out a banger. So it's like, it's fine. But
And when
me,
if you've seen Rhino gore somebody, wouldn't you go back to his catalog and try to find more things about Rhino?
oh, dude,
I would.
That's why I was saying Roman against Rhino, like the battle of the spear versus the gore.
Oh, dude, it
and
would have
think about the wild card. He had Paul Heyman, who, if anybody could like tell Roman Reigns what Rhino's it's him.
Oh yeah,
beautiful done. That was, yes, an initial like thought that I just had, but it also covers every single aspect.
Yeah, and you can explain the why with it.
Yeah, and Rhino's totally an underdog because he was never a champion anywhere other than ECW, where only Paul Heyman understood what Rhino's capable of.
Dude, when Rhino won that championship, I lost my mind. I was like, there's never going to be another champion again.
I would have loved to see a ECW Rhino go up against the WCW Goldberg.
That could have legs. And you could build that story. Heyman, but you have to have Heyman write it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Heyman can write
Bischoff do it at all.
Yeah.
No way.
You just tell Bischoff to focus on Too Sweet and NWO stuff.
Just use that controversy to create some cash, man, because we're gonna need it for the blow off.
Yeah, that would have been a fantastic match.
Right. I am just going to put over my affiliate Rogue Energy one more time because I'm gonna want to transition from the wrestling because we want to talk some football too at some point. And I kind of want to pick your brain about music too. But before we do that, I just want to kind of let everybody know that if you're battling energy, like if you need some more kick to your day, make sure you go to rogueenergy.com right now, because not only do they have a plethora of flavors that they come in a beautiful powder form that you can mix kind of like a protein shake, you can get like some beautiful merchandise like these shakers, like hats, like mouse pads. You also, if you're a US resident, you can get this stuff in an energy can form too. They have a lot of great stuff and a lot of great flavors, and let me tell you, their flavors are really good. Whether it's a blue raspberry, which I'm like, I will try a blue raspberry anything nowadays. Like, but they have like sour watermelons. They have, if you remember the nice like rocket popsicle that you used to get as a kid, they got a rocket pop flavor and it tastes so good. So go to rogueenergy.com, and if you're looking at the prices and you're just like, if only I could save 10% off, well, guess what? You're in luck, because if you use the promo code word Perish, you can save yourself 10% off your order. Just so you know, if there's any other code words there, you cannot stack them on. You can only use one. So make sure you're using your code words properly right now. So Chris Best saying in, I need more Rogue. Hey. When you're in a
promo code right there.
Yeah. When you're in a sea of people who are just deprived of energy, the only way to go is Rogue. With the code word Perish, save yourself 10% off. If you need any more convincing, I got a video to showcase some of the flavors they have. So check this out while I put the Saints game on my DAZN. There you have it. A lot of good flavors. And let me tell you something, there's only more on the website. So don't feel restricted from what you saw. Just be excited with the options you see. Speaking of which, we were talking just the other day about injuries in football, especially injuries nowadays as we're shaping up to week 14 of the NFL season, nearing that end. If you're in fantasy, it's a great time to win because this is either the last game of your season or one of the last ones, and you're shaping up for the playoffs. Trevor Lawrence last week, high ankle sprain.
Mm-hmm.
Team is battling for that playoff spot, battling for that division. Huge possible loss. He is slated to start today, but you have to think at what cost. You were mentioning, what does he like? You had asked me privately, like, what does his impact have for the Jacksonville Jaguars? I think right now he's the heart, he's the soul, he is the motor that drives the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I think if you lost him, it's a tough hill to climb, not to get back in there. But just kind of like, what were your thoughts when you initially saw that he could have been out? Now that he's starting, kind of where were your thoughts about him, since you're the one who kind of brought up the question?
Well, honestly, it kind of when I initially heard it kind of made me sad for the Jacksonville Jaguars because, like you said, he is the heart of their team right now. He's the fuel that's keeping them going, and to lose somebody like that who's really pushing forward your team and bringing the energy that you're trying to bring to that organization. He's the driving force behind it. To lose him, you're deflating your team like massively, And I don't know if can he rebound from this? Does this put a niche in his armor? Does he how does he rebound from this? I mean, it looked nasty.
Yeah,
and he was down, and like he could not stand. So
I was watching a video of him because obviously prior to a game, you go on the field, you kind of, you do your warm-ups and whatnot, and you see him on the sidelines doing a bunch of tests on his ankle. And you got that one of the medical guys kind of watching. He's, on one foot doing just moving his torso back and forth just to put that pressure on the ankle and just kind of see how it is. It looked great to me. It's weird because some of these guys, they just, you mentioned some streamers can be robots. These guys can be robots in a way too, because they know when to not show emotion. They know when to kind of be that figure. And it almost felt like maybe this was the way for him as well. Because I couldn't see it. He didn't wince. He didn't have any facial expression. You can just tell, okay, I'm good. I just want to play. Clear me. Let's go. And I kind of, I love it when the quarterback is that way, because that guy, you're going to ride or die with your quarterback. If you don't, that's why it's so good if you can have that amazing steady backup, because if that ever happens, you want that guy just to, you don't have to be magical, but you just have to do enough to get to the get to that trick, right? Might not, if you can cook a good steak, that's all we ask from you. You don't have to do the sizzle as well. And that's usually what your star quarterback would do. And Trevor Lawrence is that quarterback. He's going to bring you that sizzle. And I don't know if, they had I don't think their option, which was it Bethard is their backup?
I believe so.
Yeah, I just don't know if he had that capability to do what Trevor Lawrence does, because a lot of times it's that perfect throw that's winning Jacksonville the games. It's that clock management that he knows how to do. It's the little things that he does very well, and he has maybe slowly kind of come up to where he was expected to be. He was a number one pick, but he's there now. There's no ifs or questions about his game. He's there now. He is a star. He is a top 10 quarterback in the league. And I think this is why you play the games, because you got to find out. But if he is going to be nursing that ankle, it's going to be a long night for Jacksonville. So I don't know. Like, it's hard because there's some guys like the Brett Favres, the Ben Roethlisbergers of this world. They can have a broken neck and they still can be the player of the game. Like, that's just the way they're built.
I mean, he's got it. Trevor Lawrence has got a great team behind him with the Jacksonville medical staff and all that. So I would assume that they're not. They spent a lot of money to get him, and they've spent a lot of moving people around to adapt to his style of play, and you've invested a lot. So I don't think you would put him out there just because, so he's got to be good to go. But whoever they're going against is going to be shooting for that, the ability to slow him up because of that injury.
Yeah, and I think you have to on that. And they're playing Cleveland. That's the matchup tonight. So it's a team that also does not have their starting lineup or their starting quarterback in their lineup. So Cleveland, I think, they're playing for job security. They're playing for, like maybe a wild card still, because like not a lot of teams are mathematically out yet. They will be kind of after today, I think. Because
My team is.
Yeah, unless you've been really bad.
4-8.
Yeah,
that's pretty bad.
Well, my team is sitting at a beautiful 6-7. If we win, we could still lead our division. So
yeah,
that's the crap. That's the fun part about football. I've been so okay. This is where I'm gonna ask, because I'm gonna still say it. I don't care if the Saints win their division tonight or this year. If they win it and they don't have a record better than who they're playing, they should not have home field advantage. I think the winning your division, getting home field advantage for that first game is one of the dumbest rules, because there are teams that can go 12-6 and they're not getting home field advantage because they're playing a team that went 500 that year, or maybe not 12-6, 12-5. But you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
like it's like I remember the Saints playing the Seahawks years back, and Seahawks were a 500 team. They won their division because their division was awful, got home field, and it played a huge factor. Like, at that point, it was either Seattle, New Orleans. Those are two of the loudest places in the league.
Yeah.
So home field advantage. Yeah, and we got Marshawn Lynch just running a tractor all over our entire defense. That was awesome. That was fun to watch as I was on route to a Christmas party that I really wanted to go to.
He's a beast.
Oh,
that dude, he was different.
He was. But yeah, what are your stances about the home field advantage if you win your division?
I honestly think it boils down to who had the most wins that season. To me, that shows more than anything. Like, divisions are ridiculous. I mean, come on, you could legit be like you were saying, a lesser team, but because your division, you won your division, and the other team was in a harder division and they came in second, but they had a way better record than you. You're telling me I got to go to your stadium and play? Oh, okay, that makes sense. That, to me, it's like the NBA having an in-season tournament. What is the point? You're rewarding for nothing when you should be rewarding for putting in the work and overall the NFL.
You're rewarding the best team in the that are in the suck division, and I think that's kind of like the worst thing. So like, I'll say right now, if the Saints win their division, they should not get home field advantage. because they just didn't deserve it. I'm sorry. Like, not a hard schedule. You're not playing a lot of teams that are winning with winning records, and you're having issues. Clearing hole. Say what you want. I have obviously my thoughts of why I think this team is bad this year. And it's not just Derek Carr, but in fact, I don't even think he's a top 3 issue. He's top 4, ironically enough, the number that he wears. But
oh shit, the Bears and the Lions are fighting. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I need that game to be a shootout, but fantasy wise. But yeah, I don't know. Like, to me, it's just it's some of those that I just like. I don't know. There's just some stupid rules that I like or hate. Like, okay, yes, I'll say this, Saints fan. I'm not over the pass interference. I still think that was BS. It cost a team a game. It flat out changed the outcome of a game, and it changed the outcome of what a Super Bowl would have been. It had heavy impact, and the single fact that that's when you can't use your that's when you don't get an on a booth review or stuff like that blows my mind, especially in championship games like that. And it's like, okay, if it was 5 seconds earlier, you could have challenged it. Like, I get that part. Like, okay, I can get like, okay, you put these rules in place. My issue that really came to be was that the next year they informed that you could challenge pass interference calls. And it was glorified. The refs just didn't want to admit they were wrong for a year.
Exactly.
And
that's exactly it.
And then Roger Goodell's like, well, that didn't work. We're gonna go. And it's like, really, you're gonna do it with 1 year? 1 year. You're not gonna get upset over your officials for having an ego. In fact, you're gonna let your game suffer and your product suffer. You're gonna have your fans get so upset that maybe they stop buying season tickets because they're sick of what they call garbage in your league. We all know that people are going to buy NFL tickets. We all know that. That is a very well-oiled machine. However, I don't want to see the Pittsburgh Steelers fan base change. I like the Pittsburgh Steelers fan base the way they are, but I also want the fan base I have to be that passionate and whatnot. Those are the best parts about sports. It's like you go to the markets that have the best thing. So I don't know. Like, to me, there just needs to be a better. Let's look in the mirror here. Let's truly think.
No, I agree with you. It's hard
But
for them to admit that they were wrong in the play calling because there is so much on the line. Not only do you have these guys who go all year putting their bodies through this hell of crashing into another guy their size or bigger repeatedly over time, all over the season, you also have gambling involved, and you have all these different aspects, and it's like, it's almost like you want just AI refs, just
I don't even know. Well, they did the replacement refs 1 year, and it was
did they do that?
Oh yeah, there was a strike with the official board, so they had replacement refs for like a part of the season, and it was the funniest thing. I'll remember this because I was at my brother's house. He is a big Packer fan. I hate the Seahawks, and I will always hate the Seahawks. But so it was Packers and Seahawks playing, and the funniest thing was there was a play made in the end zone, and you had one ref do this to signal touchdown while the other one is doing this. And it was just the best picture to cap up what the replacement refs were. And you're like, well, if you thought the refs were bad, replacement refs are even worse. So it's like we just got the lesser of two evils at that point.
Gotcha.
But my thing is, I think in almost all sports, but football, my God, some of these guys get nailed, like absolutely crunched.
Oh yeah.
And then you don't call it. And I go back to that, like that pass interference. Buddy got crunched. And there's no looking out for his safety from a league standpoint on that. Like, you're not saying, okay, that, like, one, that hit's not even legal, let alone the play wasn't legal. And when people want to, okay, I'm going to just put this little rant. There was less than 2 minutes left in the game. The Saints had all their timeouts. We would have been like first and goal on the 4. A field goal would have won us the game. We could have ran out the clock and hit a field goal at the end of the game. We probably would have got a touchdown because we had Drew fucking Brees, who at that time was an absolute stud.
Yeah,
and for the first time ever, we would have saw Drew Brees and Tom Brady in a Super Bowl. And don't tell me you didn't want to see that, because the Rams versus the Patriots that year, absolute garbage Super Bowl game.
Yeah, you're correct on that. I there's not anything really to argue with, and it brings me back to like you were saying, some of these guys and the hits they take. Just go back and look at Tom Brady's career. Look at some of the hits he took and no call was called. Yeah. Look at Brett Favre. I mean, the dude, he probably forgot who he was multiple games.
To be fair, Brett Favre also put himself in the position to be hit as much as he did.
But that's because he wanted to win.
Yeah, he was a different cat.
I absolutely hate the Packers and hope nothing but losses for them every season. But the fact of the matter is, I can also sit back as a Bears fan and say, if I had those two quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, on my team, given their hearts the way they used to, I would be annoying too.
You know? Yeah, and it's just one of those things where I strongly believe your lead ref, only your lead ref, should answer questions to the media.
Fair point.
If you're going to put star players in some of the brutal moments up on the podium to talk about the game, and you're going to interview them, I think the lead ref should be held just as accountable. Because one, I'm going to ask this. If you can then find out a little bit more to why a decision was made by the said official, now as a viewer, now as somebody who, maybe it's a coach, maybe it's a player, viewer, fan, whatever the case may be, if you can get some, even if you don't agree with it, you can then at least understand their way of thinking and why they made that decision, and then understand a little bit better about the game that they're calling, so that you're not playing the whole, okay, that's a penalty. Oh my God, what are you doing? Come on. That just cost me 5 points on fantasy. Come on. Are you stupid? Come on now. You know, you're going to prevent that a little bit, because now you can be like, oh, okay, I don't like it, but yeah, that's not, that's a penalty. You can't do that. You go from the CM Punk backstage to, and 2023, you just can't be doing that anymore. CM Punk. But I don't know. But I think too, a lot of good with a lot of bad. Yeah, are they going to be held in the spotlight to criticism? Sure, but why shouldn't they when they have that power? Spider-Man taught me, with great power comes great responsibility.
That he did.
Officials, what are your responsibilities?
Valid question. I like it, man.
Plus, come on, who doesn't like a little bit of chaos in their NFL?
Yeah, and they should be held accountable. And I like how you mentioned the lead official should be the one doing the press conferences, because that makes sense. You're the lead, so why aren't you leading?
Yeah, you're the one that okayed everything. You're the one that's defending that group. Like, to me, like, that's fine. If that's going to be your 1-year trial, Goodell, I challenge you to do it. Come on. I would love to see the lead official get asked some of the stupid questions that they ask the coaches or the players at times. That, to me, would be absolutely hilarious. and entertaining, especially if you got a referee that just snap back too.
You get like some type of Belichick referee.
Well, like just like next question. Why? Because it was stupid.
It was dumb.
Yeah.
You're dumb. Go in the
Why did he call that play? Because I had to. Next question.
It made the most sense.
Yeah. Was that play offside in your eyes? Really? Yes. That's why I called it. You have any other barn burners there, Dave?
Dave from Basement News Sports Network.
Yeah. From fantasygm.com, who's in last place. So with the first overall pick, you picked a kicker, you idiot.
That would be some entertaining post games.
Although I just don't think a lot of the officials would be like that.
No, they wouldn't. They'd be like, well, you know, we
They'd
see
be like,
one way.
they'd be Mike McDaniel, but without the humor, and that would not be a pretty sight.
It would be what's his name, Dennis Miller, back on Monday nights again. People are rioting in the streets because the refs are like Dennis Miller.
I love Dennis.
I did too. I thought it was fantastic, and the jokes he said made me laugh.
Maybe they need to put Pat McAfee in charge of this.
You're bringing up some good points here, man. If they start implementing this, I'm gonna write to Goodell and say, hey, Perish needs some of this cash, man.
I mean, imagine if Pat McAfee's asking questions.
Oh God, you would not want that. He would get into so many things that are just like. You threw that flag because, well, you're a dick and you've always been a dick. Just like, what?
Did you see his? I think it was in front of all the Georgia fans, as we have Hypocrisy Jones in the chat, that giving us that purple or black heart. I believe it's purple.
It's the black one. Black heart.
Black?
Yeah, you're colorblind, buddy.
Yeah, see the reference I gave there? Black heart, damn it. Woo! I'll do one of those and show you the 3 arm or the pit hairs I have too.
No, don't do
it. I have on too many layers right now to show my pits, so don't worry, you're good. Hypocrisy Jones, I'm in the chat from my homie Joshua Joseph. Then he woos. So, I mean, wooing is infectious. But man, I can only imagine. Yeah, but like that whole like just absolutely leads Georgia onto a chat, only to pick Alabama.
Yeah.
You have Theo Vaughn right beside him. Like, what just happened?
It was incredible too, and you could tell that he had that moment and he knew how to play in that moment and just get everybody. That made me a fan of Pat McAfee at that moment. He he really did his best heel job right there, man. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
No, he's not. Chris Best out there stoking fires.
Hey, if it pays the bills, I'll do anything, man.
Well, you mentioned something about music. What
yeah,
piqued my interest there, bud.
Well, I mean, I think too, like it's it's easy. Obviously, we meet through wrestling. We know that we had interest with NFL and all that stuff. But I mean, obviously, it's absolutely no surprise. You know, people like music. People want to like. I think people always are intrigued by what do you listen to? What kind of music are you into? And like I know that for me, that's always something too, because I like to always go and check out. I'm not the world's best of like that's all I listen to is new music on Spotify. But I will like search out new stuff, and I'll take some time to listen to new people because I do want to have new stuff. I even had a thought of yesterday, like I'm watching it's that Wrapped on Spotify, and it's like here's the artist that thank you, and then like I'm seeing Metallica, and I'm like, man, they're old.
They are.
I love my Metallica. Don't get wrong. But the most played songs for Whom the Bell Tolls now was written in the late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Very
talking
true.
almost 50 years.
Oh yeah.
We're pushing on the so I gotta find some new stuff. And I do. Like I have new stuff. Trust me, people, I do. But I was curious too from Josh, like what I find like if you were to put like a song on like your show, that kind of reflects kind of what you like. So like I see some like rock inspired stuff, I see some rap inspired stuff. What are your kind of interests in music? But also like kind of like what do you like associate with? Like what's your genre, or do you have one, or things like that?
I would say the one genre that always makes me happy and I enjoy listening to, I would say probably like 85% of the bands is new metal. Just that whole Korn, Limp Bizkit, those types of bands like that. They always, if I hear a new one come out, a new band trying to emulate that, I always try to check them out because, it's something I enjoy. A newer band that I've really enjoyed and has been a lot on my playlist is Kenny Hoopla.
Okay.
I really like his take on mixing punk and kind of like this style of rap that I don't know, where like they're sampling things and they're putting it together, but then like when I seen him at a Riot Fest, he came out and it was just him and his DJ, and he had an amazing show. Like he was climbing the thing, the people putting on the festival were coming out and being like, "Hey, you gotta get down, buddy," and he's just like up there like, screw you guys," and he's singing away, and it like he really has an energy that I love. I would definitely go and check him out. I also am a huge fan of like Thelonious Monk. If you ever heard of him, he's an old jazz musician. I love listening to his stuff, like when I'm working, doing things. But yeah, if I'm going to wrap up what like my actual taste is, it's mostly like new metal, classic rock, things like that. I'm a big fan of the Deftones. I love everything they do. They can do no wrong in my eyes.
All right. Now, do you, in your eyes, like, do you associate, like, say, because we talked about, I told you, like, my WrestleMania theory, right? Like, I kind of put, like, if they have, like, a rock song, I'm like, this is going to be a good. Do you associate music to, like, your interests? Like, I always find like one, it's very stereotypical at times too, but I'm also very much surprised too. Like when I see like Jimmy Wang Yang is like a country boy, and like that's legit. That's just not a gimmick. That's real. And I'm like, whoa, okay, that's different. Did not expect that one, but yeah, like just in what's like, do you find yourself like, hey, oh my god, like that guy likes what I like. I'm now more of a fan, like, or
yeah, it's like it's almost like a recipe. Like when you look at somebody, you know the ingredients that go into them, but when you find something new about them, like a music interest or something like that, it's like an added flavor, and you're like, oh, okay, well, man, I kind of like this more. Let's go and let's see what we can talk about and where it goes. Most definitely, if I know somebody out there who's here's a secret time. If I know someone out there who's an ICP fan, I know I can have conversations with them because I've seen those guys when they first started out. I've been to Detroit to see them play. They entertain me. It's like their shows are a giant theatric event. It's fun. Yes, that some of the stuff they talk about is
are they like is it kind of like a music meets theater, or not theater, but music meets carnival meets theater thing.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. They come out. The first time I seen them, they were in toy boxes as action figures of themselves. And then they bust through the toy box and started going into the show. And at the end of the show, they invited everybody to rush the stage. And we were up there singing with them and the crew and just throwing Fago out to everybody else. It's a whole different world, man, when you go into there. But I've also been to I've seen Stained live,
Yeah.
and like just watching them when they were coming up, it was amazing. I've seen Korn 8 times. Like anytime I can, I go and watch what they do. I would love to see Tool. Like actually, I've seen A Perfect Circle, and I was very influenced by a mushroom. So that kind of was a whole different world.
Very, very Mario of you.
Oh, it was very Mario of me. Dude, I stood in a crowd just staring at this giant thing above the crowd.
You're just like your head was going beep 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 beep.
Dude, it was. And then you got Maynard singing in the background of it. It's like, oh my God, life is going crazy.
One of the coolest things that I think I've seen Maynard do, like and I'll get to like what I think, like Tool, like by the way, like their sets, like it's just start to end. It's just they don't stop. It's intense energy. It's amazing. You are worn out by the end of it. And I'm not really a big like headbanging kind of a guy, but like I'll go to these shows because I love the music. I'll sing along. Maybe not so much now. I don't know. I'm different. I haven't gone to a concert in a while. There's a point where you get to an age and you're just like, I don't think I work out in that crowd anymore. Or the
yeah.
But I mean, if you want to be a international Chris Perish fan, I'm gonna say that's okay.
That is a great song, Chris Perish. I enjoy that one too. Dude, it's so funny you say if you go to a show, you kind of realize that maybe you've outgrown that scene.
Yeah.
I've done that at like a hardcore punk shows. I used to go to them all the time through high school. And I went to one when I was like 35, and I was like, yep, I'm done here. Gonna buy tickets to the seats up there from now on. Not gonna be at the floor.
Well, it's funny because like at some point, like I still like a good Motley Crue. Like when Kickstart My Heart comes on the radio, I'm still like, all right,
dude.
When
my wife walked down to the aisle to Kickstart My Heart. That's awesome.
I don't even think my wife would even entertain that idea.
Oh, my wife
she flat out said, I don't want Bon Jovi at our wedding. And I'm like, well, you're not gonna like the song I danced with my mom to, because my first concert I went to was Bon Jovi with my mom.
Oh no, Perish. Bon Jovi.
But here's the thing, my mom loves Bon Jovi, right? So like you get like, and I'll say, I'm not the world's biggest Bon Jovi guy, but when you actually think of like, there is nobody that writes a better love song than him.
Yeah. The Goo Goo Dolls died.
Yeah, they were good. But also there's don't tell me you don't have like a whole like Wanted Dead or Alive. Like you don't, okay, like this song hits.
It hit when I was in high school and getting stoned in basements with my friends. I'd be like, yeah.
Get stoned in your basement with your friends and be like, Ben, let's feel like high school.
Dead or Alive. Yeah, man. It's John Bon Jovi. He's really singing to me right now, brother.
But yeah, so like anyway, like I
get what you're saying.
One of the songs on the album that because back then you would see tours because said artist just came out with a new album, right? So it was These Days, and I played a song from These Days, and that was the song I danced with my mom to, because it took me back to the moment I had when my mom's first took me to my first concert.
That's awesome.
And then Chris Best is saying Blaze of Glory is a great song to get stoned. I gotta ask now, is stoner music good to get stoned at? Because I do not partake in this, I hear Because I Got High, and I'm thinking, what a stupid effing song. But then I wonder, does it actually hit? Because I hear so many times that said songs that aren't of that genre are great to get stoned.
Yeah, I mean,
but I never once hear a stoner type song.
The Afro Man, for example.
Yeah.
For example. Yeah, if you're with a group of friends and you guys are smoking and that comes on, yeah, it's a blast. Because then you start making up things. I tripped over the cat because I got high, and that's not in the song, but your friend just tripped over the cat and it's funny. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I love Pink Floyd, man. I know that's like probably pretty cliche in this day and age, but like if you get a good buzz on, I can put on Dark Side of the Moon and listen to it still from start to finish. I actually took one of my twin daughters. She's become pretty into the music scene of different bands, and we took her to the Brit Floyd. It's a tribute band from Britain, Great Britain, and they come over and they're like one of the biggest Pink Floyd touring tribute bands, and they had an amazing show, and I was perfectly sober there. I had my daughter with me, so I'm just sitting there watching it, and it's great music. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoy. There's a lot of different bands I enjoy during that influence, like Bright Eyes. That's indie rock, stuff like that. I like listening to a lot of that stuff. If anybody out there like Sublime, the acoustic album they did, I can listen to that from start to finish. Bradley Nolan Friends, a great album out there. If you're a Sublime fan and you've never heard it, go check that out. That's an amazing album.
I asked a question, and I asked in a yes or a no. But now I'm going to ask, what wrestler were you surprised that you became a fan of because you realized he or she has the same music interest of you?
I'm going to say one that I'm not sure if everybody will know, but they did have a run in, I believe, in Impact, Congo Kong.
Okay.
I was very surprised. I was a fan of his. And then when I found out that he was like big with ICP and he does ICP related content with them in their studio and he's real tight with them and he wrestles for them, I was like, oh my God, I love this dude even more and I've gotten to speak to him and things like that about said subject.
Okay. I just always think that's like interesting because like obviously I find like wrestling like in music like those are like so hand in hand, but I also like kind of go back and be like, okay, like I worked out, started working out again, and I'm like, yeah, I need music, I need to concentrate, I need to focus, and it's just funny. If I got to go to bed and I can't sleep, I'll lay in the dark and I'll just have music going on. But then I realize like, okay, and I'll put like blaring rock on loud, and for whatever reason, sometimes that like it can go like that works for me. It's weird because it's like sometimes I'm just thinking, oh, okay, well, if I was to wrestle, what would be my theme song? Now,
I've done that multiple times in the shower listening to music.
See, and that's weird. I'm not like a shower music person, but like working out, need music. When I want to fall asleep, I need music. That's why really a lot of times I go to bed at a different time than my wife. She'll be up in bed at like 9 o'clock, watching Grey's Anatomy or something. And then I'm just like, nope, I can't watch this because like I don't want lights in my face shining on me when I'm wanting to sleep. Can't do that. And then I'd be like, okay, I watched like 10 seconds of this and it's like, fuck, I haven't seen this episode. And I'm like, I don't care, but now I need to know what happens. I'm just that guy. I'm curious.
That's the drug element of those shows. They get you hooked. My wife watches those shows all the time.
I think this is going back to one of the people you're talking about. Was it Sublime there, Chris, or was it who was the band? I apologize for bringing that up late. So yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Like I just now kind of lost my train of thought there.
Brett Floyd.
Oh, Brett Floyd.
Yeah, they're. If you haven't seen them, Chris Best, I would definitely check them out when they come through. Tickets are never outrageous, and they put on one hell of a production. It's amazing.
I'm not gonna say the band that I was, but like a band that I was thinking of. If you're ever in Vegas and you go down the old strip, not like not the one they had, like not the new one, but go to the old strip. There's always an 80s rock band or 80s tribute band. They just play music in the 80s. They're called Spandex Nation. So much fun to watch. So if you're ever down in Vegas, go to the old strip, go see Spandex Nation. They are fantastic. Even if you're not even an 80s like music fan, these guys just, have fun. They make whoever's around, you're a part of the show too. It's just a good time. Plus, Chancellor, when you're in Vegas, you're kind of open to doing different things because, let's be honest, Vegas is not the real world. It's just not.
No, it's not.
They now have a damn sphere that looks at you. It's weird.
That's funny. I like that.
There's going to be an NHL draft, or I think it was maybe NFL. One of the drafts are going to be at the Sphere, and I'm like, man,
that would be kind of cool.
I hope they just have Roger Goodell's face on the Sphere and just be like,
dude, I hope they put cool graphics up when they do when they pick. That would be awesome.
The pick is in, and you're like, what? or they put like mean tweets on there for like reactions.
Yeah,
of
funny.
Like,
this guy was a bum in college. He's gonna be a bum in the pros.
Well, no, it's like, and the Cleveland Browns select running back, blah blah blah, and then you just see a tweet. What the fuck are they doing?
That would be funny.
Like,
way to use $1 billion fucking object that you bought. You're just putting up mean ass tweets during a draft.
Just play like fans that have like 9 followers and they don't care what they put out. Put that on there.
That would be funny too.
Like the guys like, we should have took a linebacker. What are you doing?
Linebackers, you need them. You definitely need them.
You took a punter. What are you, stupid?
Anybody on this team can kick a ball.
Yeah.
Why are you wasting picks on this guy?
Just get Ronaldo. It's Vegas, damn it.
Yeah.
You're staying with Garoppolo? Oh my God, I need more alcohol now. Oh, that'd be the greatest.
It would be pretty fun.
But, yeah. So, I think for now, that's probably going to be episode 2 of the Chris Perish podcast. We're running well over 100 minutes, so I just want to say thank you to everyone who's taken the time to stop by and enjoy this, whether you're Chris Best, whether you're Hypocrisy Jones, whether you're the Shan Chops. Thank you for joining us today. Even if you are somebody watching and you didn't even want to get involved in the chat, just know that if you always feel like you want to be involved, you can be involved. We will involve you. I will post your comments. I will talk to you. I will ask you questions as well. So don't be afraid. But anyway, I just appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch. But Joshua Joseph, thanks again for
thank you, man,
being with me. You have an open invite, in fact. Yeah, so just let me know what you want to do, and we can work something out moving forward. We will do episode 3 next week, same time, as that's going to be the go time there too. So who knows? Maybe Josh, maybe you'll be back. Maybe it'll be somebody else. We'll know, but stay tuned.
You'll have to tune in.
Yeah, it's what We talked about Trevor Lawrence. That's why you play the game. This is why you tune into the show.
Game time decision.
Yeah. I'll be Yahoo's IR. Extremely frustrating, but we'll eventually get there. But yeah, Josh, let everybody know what you have coming up. Exactly, Chris Best.
All
Same
right.
Perish time, same Perish channel.
So true.
Yeah, but yeah, what do you have coming up, and where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitch on Friday and Saturday nights. I do a little watch along for SmackDown and AEW Collision, where I just really I enjoy the products that are being put out. Fridays, I usually have a couple people join me. Chris Perish himself and Chris Best have been guests on that show, and we just we talk SmackDown. You can also find my podcast, A Moment with Joshua Joseph, on Spotify. Go out there, check out who I talk to. That one's a little more where I talk to wrestlers and comedians and just people who entertain me. I figure people would like to hear from them. Watch along with a wrestler, I always do. You can check that out. We should have the new episodes coming out of that. That's not a weekly thing. That's usually more when I find a wrestler who wants to do a watch along. So other than that, you can find me out there on Facebook and that, Joshua Joseph. Check out the things I do with In Your House Productions. We are a fantastic group and we are growing. So check out the new things we're going to have for 2024.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Well, once again, thank you for joining me today. And it was a great episode, great time. And for everyone else, if in case you are confused of where you're watching this, you can find me obviously on YouTube, on Facebook, on the Twitch. Just search Chris Perish. I'm not difficult to find. But also if you have a chance, go like me on TikTok. Yes, I'm on that. I'm going to be using that a lot to promote the show, kind of promote what I have. So you might not see me a lot posting the silly stuff that you do find on TikTok. It's going to be relatively more of a professional account. So but for now, I've been Chris Perish. He's been Joshua Joseph. You have been superb. Thank you, and I'll see you next week.